Do you believe you are free? Take your time before you answer. When you wake up, the first thing you do is grab your phone and scroll through the screen, looking for something new to look at or do. Then maybe some coffee, a short video to get your dopamine going, or a song to pass the time. You get more stimuli on your way to work or school, like podcasts, social media, and constant notifications. And what happens when you finally get a moment of peace? You feel uncomfortable and empty, which makes you want to find another distraction or immediate pleasure. The issue is not pleasure itself. Pleasure is a natural tool of the human mind, an evolutionary mechanism that drives us to seek what keeps us alive. But what happens when pleasure itself becomes the prison? When we need to feel good all the time, we become prisoners of a never-ending cycle of instant gratification. Aldous Huxley made this prediction almost 100 years ago. In 1984, George Orwell warned us about a future of harsh repression. Aldous Huxley had an even scarier idea. A world where people would not need to be forced to obey, because they would be so entertained and so full of pleasurable stimuli that they would never think about rebelling. A world where people would love being slaves and wouldn't need chains. Look around you now. What do you see? A society that loves entertainment, wants to enjoy life without limits, and wants to get rid of any pain right away. But how much does this cost? Is this constant search for instant happiness really setting you free or keeping you stuck? This video will talk about how modern society teaches us to seek pleasure as a way to control our lives, and how this dependency may be turning you into something you never thought you would be, a willing slave. You should keep watching if you think you have control over your own mind. You might find out that you never did. The best kind of slavery doesn't need chains. There is no need for torture, threats, or constant watching. It only needs one simple thing that works so well: pleasure. When pleasure is the most important thing in life, servitude looks like freedom. Huxley predicted this in Brave New World, and it came true. Picture a world where people don't question anything, because they're always entertained, where cheap distractions take the place of the search for meaning, and where pleasure is forced on them instead of being a choice. Huxley imagined a world where people are taught from birth to stay away from anything that makes them uncomfortable. When someone feels bad, like they don't know what to do, or they're worried about their existence, the answer is always Soma, the perfect drug that keeps everyone calm and asleep. But is this world really a story? Think about what you do every day. What do you do first when you're bored, sad, or angry? Do you take a moment to think about that feeling, or do you look for something else to do right away? There are so many things to do: social media, TV shows, food, alcohol, shopping, sex, porn, games, and so on. We live in a time when you can get rid of any pain in a matter of seconds by touching the screen. You never have to face the void. Just fill it with something else that makes you happy. The most dangerous part is, it all looks like a choice. You don't have to watch TV all the time if you don't want to. You don't have to spend hours on Instagram or TikTok. No one is holding a gun to your head and telling you to buy this, eat that, or keep scrolling. But if you have a choice, why is it so hard to stop? The answer is conditioning. Your brain learns that looking for quick pleasure to get rid of any kind of pain is the normal way to deal with it. As time goes on, you lose the ability to handle boredom, silence, and thinking about yourself. Your mind can't be alone with itself anymore. And without even realizing it, you become exactly what Huxley said you would: a happy servant who is not forced to do things, but enjoys doing them. But why does this happen? How does conditioning keep us from thinking critically and keep us stuck in this cycle of addiction? In the next part, we'll look into this. If you understand this, click the subscribe button to join the channel. Thanks for your help. Have you ever thought about why it's so hard to stop? Why does your hand automatically go to your phone when you know you should be doing something useful? Your brain begs for a new notification, video, or other stimulus. You didn't just happen to do this. You were trained for it. We are taught to avoid pain at all costs from the moment we are born. The school system doesn't teach us how to think critically. It teaches us how to repeat what we've learned. The job market tells us to make things, not think about them. And the culture of entertainment keeps us busy all the time, so we don't have time to think about the world around us. All of this adds up to a society where the real danger isn't an authoritarian government that stops free speech, but a system that makes us not care about it at all. Huxley was the best at understanding this. People in Brave New World didn't need to be brutally controlled. They were taught to love being slaves. Since they were kids, they had to go through hypnopedia, which is when messages are repeated while they sleep, and change their beliefs without them knowing it. They were told things like, everyone belongs to everyone and a gram of soma solves everything, so they would never question anything. They were raised to think that happiness came from fitting in, not thinking too deeply, and running away from any pain. Now think about how this is true in real life. Hypnopedia doesn't condition people anymore. Instead, social media algorithms, corporate marketing, and a constant stream of stimuli do it without you even realizing it. When you get a notification, your brain releases dopamine. When a short video gives you new information without you having to think about it, you get used to not having to think for yourself. And every time you get a reward for doing what you're told, like likes, social approval, or instant pleasure, you strengthen the idea that this is the right path. What happens because of this? A whole generation of people who can't be alone with their own thoughts, can't deal with discomfort, and can't question the system because they don't know how to think critically anymore. A dictatorship is not necessary to govern the populace when they inherently dismiss any concept that demands cognitive exertion. But this refusal to think critically has a cost. When we do everything we can to avoid discomfort, we become weaker, easier to control, and more open to attack. We become weaker when we are always happy, and fake happiness can make us more passive. But how does this happen? How can the promise of a world without pain make us give up everything? This is what we will talk about next. Think about a world where no one is sad, angry, or anxious, and where all pain is quickly erased. Doesn't it look like paradise? But take a closer look now. What happens to someone who never has problems? What happens to a whole society that is programmed to avoid any pain? The answer is easy. It gets weak. Huxley saw this trap very clearly, and it scared him. The perfect drug, soma, was always available in Brave New World, so people were always happy. No risks, no side effects, just instant pleasure. But what did this happiness really mean? It meant that no one knew how to deal with their own pain, frustration, or even their own mind. A chemical dose of comfort got rid of any uncomfortable thought. Life was a never-ending cycle of shallow pleasures like sex, entertainment, and consumption. Anything that broke this pattern was seen as a threat. Look around you now. Soma isn't available in the modern world, but there are other versions. Social media that gives you quick doses of approval. Dating apps that take away the fear of being turned down. Algorithms that give us exactly what we want before we even know we want it. Everything is made to get rid of any pain, any gap, or any need for effort. But this constant running away from pain has a price, and that price is our own mental strength. The harsh truth is that pain serves a purpose. Pain makes people stronger. Frustration helps us grow. Hard times make us grow. But we get weaker when everything is made easier and we don't face any problems. Today, any pain is too much to bear. Little failures turn into big problems. Little fights feel like disasters. We throw away anything that requires patience or effort because we've been taught to look for the easiest way, the quickest way, and the most immediate pleasure. And this makes it easier for them to control us. A society of strong, resilient people who are willing to deal with pain and learn from it will never be easy to control. It will never agree to live in a system that limits its freedom. But a society of people who are emotionally dependent on others and need constant stimulation to avoid feeling empty, and who run away from any kind of pain, will be obedient. It will be easy to change. It will be the best society for people who want power but don't want to use violence to get it. And this is how the trap closes. What looks like freedom, the power to avoid all pain, actually becomes our prison. But there is a way to get out. We need to know the difference between pleasure and purpose in order to break this cycle. Pleasure can trap us, but purpose can set us free. That is exactly what we will talk about next. What do you really want out of life? Meaning or happiness? Pleasure or goal? The answer may seem clear, but have you really thought about it? People today have taught us that happiness is the most important thing. But what does it give us that makes us happy? A never-ending cycle of short-lived pleasures. Likes on social media, shopping on a whim, casual sex, binge-watching shows, and ultra-processed foods that give us a quick high and then leave us feeling empty. All of this makes us happy for a short time, but not for long. And that's the main problem. Pleasure is only temporary. If it isn't renewed all the time, the feeling of emptiness comes back. Now think about the most important times in your life that really changed who you are. Were they times of instant pleasure or times of hard work, struggle, and overcoming? Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that people need a reason to live. He noted that even in the most dire circumstances, individuals who discovered a deeper significance in their lives were the ones who succeeded in surviving and preserving their mental stability. And this is where the paradox lies. The search for constant pleasure makes us weaker, while the search for purpose makes us stronger. Pleasure is simple, quick, and hard to resist. On the other hand, purpose takes work, discipline, and strength. But purpose doesn't go away when the effect wears off, unlike pleasure. It gives us a reason to keep going and build something inside of us. But society today doesn't want you to look for meaning. It takes time to build purposes. They need you to think about them, work hard, and most importantly, not give in to pain. And all of this goes against the idea that we should buy things right away. Someone who has a purpose in life doesn't need to be distracted all the time. They don't feel like they have to fill every second of their day with shallow fun. They don't easily fall for false promises of happiness right away. And that's why we are always bombarded with things that take our minds off of this search. A person with a goal is a threat to a system that relies on our emotional dependence. If you think something is missing from your life, maybe the answer isn't more pleasure, but less. Maybe the way to go is not to look for more distractions, but to get rid of the ones you have too many of. And you should ask yourself, what really moves you? What do you do to get out of bed in the morning? Are you living for short-term pleasures, or are you working on something that will last? But how do you get out of this trap? How do you stop the cycle and take back control of your own mind? That is what we will find out in the next part. Now that you know how the constant search for pleasure can keep you stuck, the most important question is, how do you get out of this trap? How do you take back control of your mind when the world tries to keep you distracted, high, and emotionally dependent. The first thing you should know is that this battle will not be easy. The system is set up so that you will fail. It wants you to keep looking for quick pleasures, to keep giving the algorithms your attention, and to keep eating and drinking. But there is a way out, and it starts with you deciding to see the game that is being played against you. The first way to break this cycle is to stop having fun on purpose. This doesn't mean you have to give up all fun and become an ascetic. Instead, you should learn how to control how much you are exposed to things that are addictive. The issue lies not in pleasure itself, but in its utilization as a mechanism of control against you. When you stop doing things that make you happy for a while, like using social media, eating ultra-processed food, or watching too much TV, something interesting happens. Your brain resets. It starts to enjoy the little things again, and the strong need for fake stimuli starts to fade. The next step is to learn to deal with pain again. To get your independence back, you need to learn how to deal with boredom, frustration, and the lack of constant stimulation again. This means letting yourself be quiet, turning off the flood of information, and just being without needing to do something to keep yourself busy all the time. At first, this will be hard because your brain is used to getting a lot of dopamine all the time and will want more. But if you fight it, you'll start to notice something powerful. Discomfort doesn't kill you. It actually makes you stronger. The third step is to learn how to think critically. Why do I always want to distract myself? Who gains from my addiction to pleasure? What could I be doing if I weren't always looking for instant pleasure? The more you ask questions, the more you'll see that many of your habits and wants were not really your choice. The system programmed them. But only people who ask themselves these questions can start to change their own future. The fourth step, which may be the most important, is to replace pleasure with a goal. As we talked about before, looking for meaning is the only way to break free from the slavery of instant pleasure. So think about what really matters to you. What do I want to make? What can I do to make my life more meaningful? These are hard questions, but they are the only ones that really matter. But there is an issue. Even if you start to break free from this cycle, the people around you will still be very much a part of it. And when you make the choice to change, people will start to see you in a different light. Some people will like you and others will not. When you set yourself free, you also become a mirror that shows people what they don't want to see in themselves. And that's exactly what we'll talk about in the last part. Something inside you has already started to wake up if you've read this far. You've come to understand that the constant search for pleasure is not freedom, but a cycle of conditioning that keeps you stuck. You know that modern society doesn't have to physically chain you up to control you. It just has to make you want to run away from anything that makes you uncomfortable. But now that you know about the trap, the most important thing to ask yourself is what you will do with this information. To get out of this system, you need more than just willpower. It means going against the flow, turning down the easiest path, and realizing that true freedom often comes with being alone and fighting against it. You start to see when you stop distracting yourself. And when you see, you know that many people around you are still blind. Some people will like you for this, while others will not. Some people will be uncomfortable with your change because it threatens their illusion when you free yourself. They will try to pull you back by telling you that this system is fine and that you should enjoy life without thinking too much about it. But now you know the truth. Having fun without a purpose is just another kind of slavery. So you get to choose. You can keep living the way you have been, distracting yourself, looking for the next dose of dopamine, and ignoring the growing emptiness inside you. You could also choose to take back control of your mind, find a purpose, and become someone who is hard to manipulate. But I want to know what you will pick. Have you ever felt stuck in this cycle? Have you ever thought about how society uses pleasure to control people? Please leave a comment below and tell us what you think. Asking questions is the first step to freedom. If this video has changed the way you see the world, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We don't just go along with what everyone else does here. We ask questions, think about things, and try to find the truths that no one else wants you to see. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications if you want to keep going on this journey of self-discovery and freedom. This is just the beginning. In the next video, I'll see you.